Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage your hosts for today's Leadership Speaker Series.
Hello, hola, ni hao, Eagles. My name is Andrea Ramos. I'm a senior here at Windmill Lakes Orem High School. I'm pleased to have all of you out here today for our Leadership Speaker Series, held very first time on our campus. Today I'm joined by my co-hosts and fellow scholars from other ILTexas across the state. Please introduce yourselves.
Hello, Eagles. My name is Melina Spees. I'm a senior at Keller Saginaw High School.
Hi, Eagles. My name is Paul White, and I'm a senior at Lancaster DeSoto High School.
Hello, Eagles. I'm Cadet Lance Corporal Vo, a junior at Kitty West Park High School.
Here at ILTexas, leadership is our middle name. With the Leadership Speaker Series, we are able to learn and engage with different leaders across the world.
Leadership Speaker Series in the past have featured leaders like former President of Mexico Vicente Fox, former Prime Minister of Australia Kevin Rudd, General Jim Mattis, and most recently Lieutenant General Charles Hooper.
Today, we are grateful to be joined by the Honorable Eva Guzman. Justice Guzman served in a whopping 3 levels of the Texas judiciary and started her judicial service in the 309th District Court in Harris County.
She then served in the 14th Court of Appeals, where she worked on many civil and criminal complex cases and has given her professional opinion for nearly a decade.
Justice Guzman made history twice more when she received the most votes ever in a Texas Republican Party primary with 1.2 million votes and won re-election that November with 4.8 million votes.
In 2010, Justice Guzman was elected in the Supreme Court of Texas, making her the first Hispanic woman to ever be elected. Now, Eagles, please join me in giving a warm ILTexas welcome to our guest, Honorable Eva Guzman.
How is everybody? You ready to unleash your potential? All right, all right. Well, listen, it is a great honor for me to be here this morning. I believe that we together today we'll explore how to unleash your potential. Sometimes when we're about to enter that next phase, when we are about to cross the threshold. How many are seniors here today? Juniors, and then freshmen, sophomores. You've got a very, very diverse representation of the different stages that you're in. So I hope that you will take from our conversation today something that will help you build your commitment to that next phase, that will help you grow in your courage. It takes courage, it takes commitment, it takes courage. And it's been said that nothing shapes your life more than the commitments you choose to make. So I ask you this morning, what are you committed to? Excellence, your community, making a difference, transforming, possibly, not only your own future, but the future of everyone around you. I grew up in Houston's East End. I'm one of 7. And the daughter of Mexican immigrants. They had elementary school educations. Imagine that. You're in the 4th or 5th grade and suddenly it all stops. No more learning. And yet, through just these core values, commitment to excellence, hard work, perseverance, they would see all 7 of their children graduate from college. I went on to law school. Anybody here thinking about law? Raise your hand. Who wants to be a lawyer? Okay, fantastic. I know I talked to some young leaders today that are thinking about law. For me, it was a journey that has taken me to places I've never dreamed of going. I never met a lawyer before I went to law school. I grew up, with very little money, but big dreams. And so I encourage you as you sit here today, as you think about unleashing that potential. And I wish I could ask each and every one of you what you're thinking about, but maybe I'll just ask a couple. What are you thinking about in terms of your next step? What do you want to do? I love that, interior design. That's the other side of me, really likes design and all of that. Fantastic. How about you? And what do you want to study? Excellent. See, we have some big dreams in this room. What's going to hold you back? Who can hold you back? That's right. We are the authors of that next chapter. I hope to take some of your questions today, and I hope that you will leave here today emboldened to explore the power of possibilities and to unleash your unlimited potential. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, we are so grateful to have you, Eva Guzman. Thank you so much for joining us. At ILTexas, we work each day to become tomorrow's next international leaders, and we're so excited to learn from you and as a leader yourself. So the floor is yours.
Well, you all had some questions for me this morning.
Yes, that's correct.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take some questions. I actually, one of the things I did after I was a judge, as you heard, on 3 different courts, and when I left the Texas Supreme Court, I took a bold step. I did something that no other Latina had ever done, no other Hispanic woman had ever done, and I decided I was going to run for Texas Attorney General. Now, I'd been a judge on the highest court, and that's a pretty impressive gig, right? But deciding to enter the political arena was scary. But at the same time, I saw it as an opportunity to try to lead Texas in ways that I thought were important as a lawyer and as a judge. And that didn't work out for me. I am back to being a lawyer. But I don't regret for 1 minute entering that political arena. So if you're thinking about something that's a little challenging, a little outside of your comfort zone, I would say enter that arena, go for it, and find the inner strength and also the resources to help you pursue those dreams.
Thank you, Ms. Guzman, for sharing. We're going to ask you some personal questions now. At ILTexas, high schoolers are given a leadership class where we are taught important traits and principles of being a leader. We are also taught that before you become a great leader, you must be a good follower. In your opinion, what are ideal traits to have in a good follower?
A good follower. Listening. You know, one of the things we see in leadership across many spectrums is we don't listen to each other. It's being open. If you're going to be a follower and a leader, you have to learn to listen to the opinions of others. You need to learn to discuss civilly, the issues of the day. And what do you think about politics today? Anybody? It's very divisive, right? Whether you're on this side or that side, the dialogue is very divisive. And so what I see is a failure in leadership there. And you're about to turn 18, many of you. Part of your civic responsibility will be to engage in discourse about the issues that impact all of us in a civil way. So being a good follower starts with being a good listener.
Thank you, Justice Guzman. Now, a follow-up question is, out of all the previous leaders you've ever had, who has influenced you the most and why?
Of all the people that have shaped my journey? Wow. So when I get asked that question, I think about all the places I've been and the journeys that I've taken. I've, had dinner with folks that are in the White House. I've also had dinner with my neighbors from the neighborhood I grew up in, right? Very humble people, very people that don't have the education or the financial resources that come with taking the journeys that I've taken. And each of them has had an impact in my life. One of the other things about leadership is learning. It's a lifelong process. So what can I learn from someone who's in the White House? What can I learn from my next door neighbor who cleans homes when I was growing up? And if you are open, you will learn from everyone who crosses your path. For me, one of my biggest mentors, I think, has been a friend I met in law school. And before I became a judge, I actually didn't think that I would get selected to become a judge because I got appointed by the governor, and I didn't think that I had the friends or the resume or the pedigree to aspire to such a great position, right? To be a judge. And I'd gone to law school and met a friend in my first day in law school, and that friend said, "You can do this. And here's how we're going to, take that journey." So I think those types of friends have had the biggest influence in my life. So try to find people that believe in you. If someone doesn't, stay away. Find new friends. If it's a family member, well, you can't get new family members, but you can prove them wrong, right? And so I think it's the people I've met along the way.
Thank you, Justice Guzman. Can you share a time when you made a mistake in your position as a leader and what lessons you learned from that?
Yeah. Boy, how many of us admit we've ever made mistakes? Right? We all have. They're part of leadership. The biggest thing about a mistake is you don't want to make it twice. You want to learn from it. You want to identify why you made the mistake in the first place. And you want to grow in a way that helps you take your leadership in a different direction. So I've made mistakes along the way, I believe. When I was running for Attorney General, I thought that I understood politically what would come my way. Well, I hadn't thought about someone can just say whatever they want, right? And you have to be prepared for that. And so I learned from that. When I was a judge, I was on the trial court bench. And so I've been on 3 different courtrooms. One of them was the kind of courtrooms you see on TV. There's a judge behind the bench and lawyers, and they're making their arguments. And it was a really busy morning, and I was swearing in the witnesses. Do you swear or affirm that you'll tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? And I would say, raise your right hand. I never looked up from the bench to see the person in front of me on that day, right? I was so busy writing notes, and I said, sir, please raise your right hand. When I looked up, this gentleman was missing an arm. And so I learned from that. I thought, never again. From now on, I'm going to look at the person in front of me. I'm going to, as a judge, understand who they are. And that was a mistake for me, but I learned from that.
Thank you, Justice Guzman. That was really enlightening. My question for you is, what leadership trait is your favorite and the most important to you, and why?
So the question was, what leadership trait is most important? And I'm going to say it's courage. Leaders have to have the courage to do the right thing, even when the consequences for doing the right thing are going to impact you in a way that you don't like. Even when no one's looking, you have to do the right thing. Even as a lawyer, you're going to take a case where you disagree with your client or your client's position or the judge, and you've got to have the courage to stand up for the rule of law. You've got to have the courage to protect your client. And you may be asked somewhere along the line, and this happens a lot if you just read a little bit about leaders who have failed in their careers. And you can see some of that on the news right now. They're asked to do things that they know in their mind, intellectually speaking, and they know in their heart aren't the right thing. But it's going to lead to a better outcome. You know, we're going to sell more product. We're going to get you elected. It's going to take some courage. You know, we're the ones raising the money. We've raised $10 million for you. It's going to take some courage to say, I'm not doing that. And you may pay a personal price for that, but I think that is what makes you a successful leader over the long run, not just in the short term.
Thank you, Ms. Guzman, for your insight. What advice would you give to people who aspire to change the world but believe they are too young or don't come from the right background?
Yeah, what advice? Gosh, I never thought that I would end up being the first Latina elected to any office in Texas. I never thought that I would have the opportunity to lead some of the most influential state commissions on children or mental health, judicial conduct. I never thought that I would, run for Attorney General and get the support of some of the most important people in the country, these billionaires that own these large corporations. And there I am, Evita, from Houston's East End, sitting in front of this owner of this huge hotel chain, right? And asking for his support. And then he says, yeah, I'm going to support you. I never imagined that would be my journey, but it was. And what advice would I give you? It's where I started. Don't let anything hold you back from unleashing your potential. It's there. It's there. You know your strengths, you know your weaknesses, but some people say, well, great leaders are born. They're born that way. They're born to lead. Well, that's probably true in some cases. Most of us work really hard, and your leadership resides within you right now, your potential, and you have to create that. You have to write that chapter.
Thank you so much, Justice Guzman. So in addition to those of us that are here in this room, we have other ILTexas students joining in virtually from the leadership classes that have some questions for you. So we're going to pass the mic on over to them.
We'll start up north in Dallas. Lancaster DeSoto High School. What is your question for Justice Guzman?
Oh,
Good morning, Justice Guzman.
hello.
Good
Okay,
morning,
so what?
Justice Guzman.
Let me. Yeah. So I think we're good to go, but I may pull out my sheet in case I can't.
Lancaster DeSoto High School, you can just wait 1 second.
Right, always be prepared. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, Justice Guzman.
Good morning.
My name is Asia Thornton, and I am a junior here at Lancaster DeSoto High School. Could you please talk about your mission in strengthening the trust and confidence in our justice system? And could you also talk about unconscious bias faced in the judicial system?
Okay, so the question was about unconscious bias. Anybody know what that is? So what did you expect to see today when you heard that a judge was coming? Who did you picture? Well, I mean, you might have thought about a lot of different things. What does this judge look like? Is this like Judge Judy, right? Am I going to see someone with gray hair and glasses? Maybe you were thinking, well, how is it that, this Supreme Court judge is a female Latina? I was thinking that mostly males did that. So those are sort of unconscious bias. It's our expectations. And as minorities, sometimes one of the things that we deal with that not everyone has to deal with is this idea of low expectations. So I have one daughter, and she ended up going to Harvard. And she was in the National Honor Society, scored really high on her SATs. And sometimes I would hear, well, who wrote a letter for her to get into Harvard? Or, was this part of some special program? No, she worked for it and she earned it. And so you may encounter some of that where the expectation is, well, surely you didn't get here on merit. Surely someone made an exception. And we are every day proving those types of unconscious bias wrong. You're here because you've earned it, because you've worked hard, because you push yourself every single day, and never forget that. Now, why did I have an interest in strengthening the justice system? What's the cornerstone, sort of the foundation of our democracy? If we don't have a justice system that's respected, what do you have? If judges make rulings and no one follows those rulings, we become a lawless society. If people decide to take the law into their own hands, and we've seen a little bit of that, what do you have? A lawless society. So it was really important for me as a justice on the Supreme Court of Texas to make sure that people could trust that if they wound up in a courtroom, they were going to get a fair and impartial hearing. And how many of you are familiar with the jury system that we have in the United States? Not every country has the robust jury system, in fact, few do, jury system that we have. And what that means is, if you're accused of a crime, you're going to have a jury of your peers. You're going to have 12 people who are going to decide your fate. And that's part of why I worked so hard to make sure there was trust in our justice system. And that's the same for a civil case. You get 12 jurors in most. There's some where 6 are appropriate. But if we don't have those structures in our justice system, then we failed. And none of us want that. And thank you for that question. It's a great question.
Thank you, Justice Guzman. And thank you, Lancaster DeSoto High School. Next up, Garland High School. What's your question?
Howdy and good morning. My name is Isabella Torres. I am a founding student of ILTexas and have been here for 11 years and am now currently a junior at ILTexas Garland High School. It is a pleasure to meet you, Justice Guzman, and I was wondering what urged you to get involved in helping start the Texas Judicial Commission on Mental Health. Furthermore, what is your take on the current state of the Texas mental health support, and what do you think can be done in order to elevate that to become better?
Thank you for that question, and good morning. So the question was about mental health. A couple of years ago, in May, there was a shooting at Uvalde Elementary, the elementary school in Uvalde. And the Texas legislature, Dade Phelan, who was the Speaker of the House, asked me to serve on a committee to investigate the Uvalde shooting and what happened that day. And that, for me, was service, right, to the community. But it was also one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. And we interviewed many police officers. Some of the families spoke with us. And one of the things for me that came out of that is that we still have a very serious mental health crisis in Texas. When a young person is experiencing, anyone, frankly, a mental health crisis, where do you go? There aren't enough counselors, there aren't enough doctors, there aren't enough hospitals. And so how does that affect the justice system? Well, what happens to people that are experiencing a mental health crisis? Where do they usually end up? In the justice system. And we started, the court did, the Supreme Court did. I led those efforts in the beginning, in the very beginning, because I thought it was important for judges to be trained to identify mental health challenges and to collaborate on resources to increase how mental health individuals that are experiencing mental health challenges experience the justice system. And so that's what led me to help create that commission. There's so much more that needs to be done. There's been a lot of funding, dollars in the legislature allocated to mental health, but so much more can be done. And what can we do as individuals? This is the really important part. What can you do? If you see someone in crisis, try your best to help them find help. Don't just ignore it. Ask a trusted family member, a member of the clergy. There's some mental health crisis hotlines. You got to do it. We can't just look the other way. Thank you for that question.
Thank you, Ms. Guzman. And thank you, Garland High School. Up next is Arlington Grand Prairie High School. What is your question?
Hello, Ms. Guzman. My name is Avery Brown. I'm a senior here at Arlington Grand Prairie High School, and I also serve as a student ambassador for ILTexas. And my question for you today is, what was it like making such large-scale decisions for an entire state? Did you ever feel any pressure at all?
Thank you for that question. So the question, what was it like to make decisions for an entire state? And did I feel pressure? Every single day. The Supreme Court of Texas has 9 members. And in many courts, you get to file a lawsuit and the judge has to decide it. When I was a trial court judge, that's the way it was. When I was on the Court of Appeals here in Houston, there are 14 in the state. I was on the 14th. That's the way it was. You're not happy with what happened in the trial court, you get to appeal. On the Supreme Court of Texas, that's not the case. The 9 judges get to decide what cases they will hear. That's known as discretionary review. And that's the same way in the US Supreme Court. So I sat around with my 8 colleagues around the conference table, and we would get 1,200, what's known as a petition for review. It's really a request. And it's basically saying, the courts below got it all wrong. We need you all to decide this case and tell the citizens of Texas what the law is. And so out of those 1,200, we might pick actually between 80 and 100 cases to decide. And so part of that job was what questions are important to citizens. And it wasn't always, and it was not about money or how much was at stake. It could be a mother who lost her children in a CPS proceeding. It could be an issue involving a probate. One of my biggest cases was an oil spill. It was $1 billion dispute. Other cases involved whether the city of Laredo could ban plastic bags, for example. Did they have the authority to say no plastic bags in this city? So there were a lot of questions that we answered that I think made an impact. Probably in your own lives today, we said, no, the city can't do that. They can't ban the plastic bags. Just the other day, the Supreme Court decided that this $500 grant that the city of Houston was giving to low-income families, they stopped it. And they're going to decide whether or not that's constitutional. So there's some really important questions that the court is deciding. In the history of the court, there have been now, I think, 10 women in, almost 200 years. So it's been a court that has not always had the viewpoints from different walks of life. That is also changing. When you vote, you're going to vote for Supreme Court judges. Do a little Google search and decide who you want to vote for.
Thank you, Justice Guzman. And thank you, Arlington Grand Prairie. Now, Keller Sagnaw, what is your question?
Good morning, Justice Guzman. My name is Brody Koch, and I'm a senior here at our Keller Saginaw campus. As I myself am committed to studying health in college, I truly value and appreciate your work with mental health. My question for you today is, what led you down the path of studying law and becoming the first Latina on the Texas Supreme Court?
Great question, thank you. So what led me on the path of studying law? I can tell you it was not a session like this. When I was in high school, things were different. And so even though I was in the gifted and talented program And even though I'd won a statewide essay writing contest, my counselor told me that maybe I should consider going into secretarial work, and there is nothing wrong with that. It is a wonderful and honorable career choice. But I myself wanted to think about a broader universe, right? And so when I went to college, I studied business, and then I started thinking about, well, how could I make a big difference? I noticed that some of my neighbors back in the barrio had some real serious legal problems. You know, they might be in jail. They may, need a benefit. They're veterans. They come back and they can't get their benefits. And so I started seeing that there were problems that I might be able to help address. And I had no confidence, none. So I give you different advice. Find your strengths, build your confidence, but I didn't think that I could do this. But then once I got in there, nothing was going to stop me. Once I became a trial court judge, nothing was going to stop me from getting on the Supreme Court of Texas. And I was going to, do the hard work, make the decisions. And for me, it was, I want to be a lawyer because I want to make a difference. Now, it's had other benefits. Drive a nice car, traveled all over the world, met great people. It's a financially rewarding career. It can be. But it's also a career where you can make it anything you want. You can do entertainment law, sports law, represent criminal defendants, represent civil defendants, work in a big law firm, work in a small law firm, work for yourself, sit behind a bench as a judge, become a federal judge. Now that's a wonderful, wonderful career path as well. So all of those things led me to become a lawyer, and then they encouraged me along the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you, Kayla Stagnall. Moving down to College Station, Aguilan, what is your question for Justice Guzman?
Good morning. My name is Helen Rios. I'm a freshman from Aguilan High School. My question for you is, what do you believe are the biggest challenges of the Texas judicial system and why?
So Texas has, how many counties? Anybody? Somebody said it. Okay, 254 counties. Only one is named after a woman, that's just an aside, Angelina County. But each county has their own trial courts. Each trial court judge mostly runs their courtroom the way they want to run it. There's some rules that apply statewide. Each of those counties is divided into an appellate district, and so one of the biggest challenges for the justice system is, how do we ensure uniformity? How do we make sure that if you're charged with a crime in Waco County or in Lubbock County or in Harris County, you're going to have the same fair and impartial system? The other challenge facing the legal system is something I was involved with as a judge and I'm still involved with, and that's legal aid. What does that mean? It means if you're poor and your landlord kicks you out of your home because you asked for them to fix the air conditioner. It means if you're poor and you go serve our country and you write a check that basically says, my life, I'm willing to give my life for this country. And you come back and you can't get your benefits, or your wife left, or you can't see your children, and you have no money, and you need a lawyer. Where are you going to go? So one of the biggest challenges is, how do we get lawyers to people who can't afford it? There are over 6 million Texans that live in the poverty level, kind of poor like I grew up. Maybe some of you are in that same place. How do you can't afford lawyers. You can't go hire a lawyer because they're, between $500 and $1,500 an hour most of the time. What do you do? So one of the things that the Supreme Court has done and that lawyers are doing is we're finding ways to create forms that the public can use and finding ways to make sure lawyers handle cases pro bono for free. And there's a lot to do on that front. There's some things online. If you know someone who's got a very serious legal problem, you can Google legal aid. And there are some offices in each major city, and you'll have to wait in line for the services. There's more need than there is availability, but it is a place to begin the search.
Thank you, Justice Guzman, on giving your insight on your financial aid for people who can't afford it. That was great. And thank you, Aguilan High School. Next up to Liberty County. Liberty High School, what's your question?
Good morning, Your Honorable Guzman. I'm Hima Rodriguez, a freshman at ILTexas Liberty High School. And my question for you is, on your path to the Texas Supreme Court, were there any obstacles you had to overcome related to you being a Latina?
Okay, great question. So we're going to have obstacles no matter our ethnicity, right? You're just going to find some obstacles along the way. You're going to trip. You're going to fall. You've got to pick yourself back up. Whether it's in college, family issues, you're going to have obstacles. And the lesson there, the leadership lesson there is leaders pick themselves back up. You learn, you dust yourself off, and you got to keep going. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to all the people whose lives you're going to change, to pick yourself back up. I believe that being a Latina has been sometimes a great asset, right? You stand out because people don't expect to see a bright, well-spoken Latina. They're used to seeing us in different places. So it can be a big asset. And there are times when you have to work harder. People are going to question, as I said before, whether you have what it takes, whether you got there because someone wanted, to make a statement of some sort. So you have to work really hard. We all do. So I'm not going to say that it's been a detriment. It hasn't. In fact, it's allowed me to enter some doors that, opened because I was in a unique place. But in terms of obstacles, yeah, some of my biggest obstacles were in the early years, money. I worked my way through college, I worked my way through law school. Some of my other obstacles were being a woman. Are you supposed to, devote 90% of your time to activities that are more family in nature? You just have to balance. There's no magic. You can do it all. You just have to balance that out.
Thank you, Ms. Guzman, for your insight. And thank you, Liberty High School. Now, back to Houston. Katy West Park High School, what is your question?
Good morning, Justice Guzman. My name is Tamila Omur, and I'm an 11th grader here at Katy West Park High School. I take pride in being a part of the ILTexas family for the past 8 years, and my question for you this morning is, what lessons in leadership have you learned from your extensive community service and volunteer work, and how do they help inform your judicial philosophy?
Great. So I have, over the course of my life, always volunteered. To whom much is given, from whom much is given, much is expected, right? And that volunteer experience has changed my life. I have seen, I volunteered my time on a very difficult criminal case recently. I saw a life saved. I volunteered for children in the foster care system. I've seen them exit that system with a future. I volunteered on community projects for people that have nowhere to turn. So what does that do for us? We are always going to get more out of that than we put in. It is part of leadership. When you meet someone and they tell you they want to be, I don't know, a senator, or they want to hold this high office, ask them why. And if they can't give you a reason other than themselves, they'd like to see themselves there, those aren't real leaders. Your real leaders understand from in here, why do I want to do this? Ask yourself. Why do I want to do this? What impact am I going to have? Whose life am I going to change? I grew up really poor, guys. I really did. And because I had mentors around me, because I pushed myself, because I took steps I never thought I could take or should take, I've transformed not just my life, but my daughter's life, and so they are different, living different lives. She has no idea what it's like to grow up like I did, and that's the idea. So push yourselves as leaders, ask yourself why, and think about all the lives you're going to change, because you will. Thank you for that question.
Thank you so much, Justice Guzman, to all of your answers. And thank you to all the ILTexas students for your questions. That's all the time that we have with you today. We are so grateful that you came here to the Leadership Speaker Series to share your insight and your experience as a leader.
We invite you to please stop by in ILTexas anytime you're in the area.
We'd also love to give the biggest shout out to all the students in this room who worked this production behind the scenes. This entire production was student-led and executed. Way to go, team!
And thank you to Eagles from all around the state. And I hope you can take home valuable lessons today. If you wish to see a recording of this event, please go to our website at iltexas.org.
And last but not least,
we are Turn your mic open.